Hello, this is Rita from BSL Battery. So in this episode, we will talk about how our battery connected to inverter and how does it work. So at the very first part, I would like to introduce that our battery can work with so many different manufacturer inverter brands like Fronius, Huawei, Growatt, Victron here of course. And we are the match listing battery manufacturer in Victron and starters, which means that you can see our logo in their BMS systems. So let's see how does it work. Okay, to make sure our battery works with an inverter, we need to make sure that the cables are well connected with this corresponding position. For example, there are two main positive and negative terminals. So you need to connect the battery with the Victrons like that. Okay, so in order to power the color control, so we need to make sure that two small cables is well connected with their corresponding terminal port. And the last thing is we need to make sure the communication wire is well plugged and is plugged into the port here in CAN, the CAN port, so that we can make sure the battery can work with our inverter. Okay, when a battery like our BSL battery is well connected with an inverter from Victron, like color control here, you should see the screen shows like that. So there are 5 sections on the screen. That is AC input, inverter, AC loads, and some basic parameter of our battery. And of course, there's a PC power there. So when you click the confirmation button in the center and then click the menu, you should see our brand BSL battery shown here. So if you want to get further details on this battery, click the button in the middle and you should see the details things here. So if you want to check, like retrieve the detail you want, just scroll down and scroll up to look for whatever you want. And then can click here the left button to go back to the main menu. Okay, to better monitor the battery status, we can import another communication port next to the CAN port, that is RS485, so that you can upload the data to the computer website here. We call it the firmware, so that we can get a better understanding or more detailed parameter of how our battery works. Okay, now that we have our camera closer to the screen, we can clearly see that is how our firmware works when our battery is well connected with an inverter. So mainly, there are small things here, small column here. You can select which column you want to check on our computer. So on the main screen, you can see it is the real-time monitoring. So here, the very first column here, the first part, that is the pack information. So you can check the information of our battery pack and to see if the data match the data shown on the screen. Which means here I mean the inverter screen. So here I mean Victron's color control. Okay, and then here the second column is the temperature of each cell. So you can see, you can check if the value here, the figure here, if they are constant to each other. If not, they will there will come an alarm light, so you can see something goes wrong with your battery. And here there is the cell voltage. And then you can see the main things here, the main part here, you can see the maximum voltage, minimum voltage, and the voltage difference. So that when the difference is acceptable, so our battery can work, so without any problem. So if something unfortunately goes wrong, you can see the system status here. So they will show us if the alarm status will be activated or not. So if it's no, everything is okay. So make sure the alarm status is none, protected status none, false status none. So here you can see the status, the general status, to have a better understanding of your battery and how does it work. Okay. Apart from the function we talk about of this system, it has real-time information of the battery and see the parameter of that. This system also serves different functions. For example, when we click the multi-monitoring button, so you can see that there are so many data shown on the screen. What was that? They are the detail for the how much our battery, how does the battery work, like per second or per minute. For example, you can see that is the subtitle, the title here. So you can see, for example, the pack voltage, remaining capacity, that kind of very detailed parameter for each second. So you can check, is the battery okay or not? So what if the battery goes wrong or there's something happen to our battery and we don't know? No worries. There is another function to prepare for things like that, which is the memory information button. So when you click on this button here, okay, you can see if there's some default count or our battery goes wrong, you can check the reason why. So it will show us the reason for it doesn't work. Okay, so of course there's so many different functions you can check on this system. For example, you can export the data if you want to keep it as a record, things like that. So you can buy our products and check with that by yourself.